In this video, I'm going to show you how to complete a tax return for a sole trader in Australia using the ATO's MyTax software for free once you log into your MyGov account. A sole trader is an individual running a business using their own personal name and ABN. Common examples include Uber drivers, Uber Eats, delivery drivers, and artists, among others. All business income and expenses of a sole trader need to be reported in the individual's tax return each year. A sole trader can access MyTax after linking their MyGov account with the ATO. I have included a link to another video on how to do this in the description of this video. After logging into MyGov and MyTax, you should see your latest individual tax return for the relevant tax year ready to start preparing. Click Prepare. Check to ensure your contact details are up to date. If any changes are required, click on the Edit button and update the information, and then click Save. Click Next. Ensure your bank details are up to date and click on Edit if a change is required. This is important as it will ensure any tax refund you are owed is quickly deposited into the correct bank account once your completed tax return is assessed by the ATO. Click Next. If you are an Australian resident, ensure you enter Yes here. If you recently arrived in Australia and are not sure if you are an Australian resident, click on the link here for residency status for tax purposes. A new page will open in your browser that will take you through a series of questions that help you to determine whether you are an Australian resident or not. As there are different tax rates for Australian and non-Australian residents, answering this question correctly will ensure there are no errors on your tax return and the rate of tax you are assessed at. Let's go back to the tax return page that is still open in this tab. Ensure you also answer the spouse question correctly, as it can also impact your eligibility for certain government benefits and tax offsets. Now scroll down to this screen and tick all the sections that apply to you. For this video demonstration, I'm going to prepare this tax return on the basis that I've only received business income as a sole trader and nothing else. So I'll click on this option here. For the rest of the video, I'm going to use the example of income I receive as a YouTube video creator that receives money from advertisements played during my videos, sales of digital products, and commissions received from product referrals. This business will be very similar to other businesses that receive money for performing services and selling goods using common e-commerce platforms such as Uber, Instagram, YouTube, eBay, Etsy, and so on. In the drop-down menu, I will select that I received income as a business sole trader, income or loss. I selected this option as I operated this business under my name with an ABN registered under my name also. I did not operate my business in a company or trust structure, and I did not have a business partner, so the other options do not apply, and I leave them as unselected. Under the drop-down box for the business sole trader income, I need to select if my business received personal service income, also known as PSI, or business income or loss. If you're not sure which option applies to you, there is a very handy decision tool that you can use to help answer this question. Since this question can determine which tax rules, including government incentives for small business, apply or do not, I will be clicking on the Personal Services Income Decision tool here. The first question is, did you work for yourself? And I will select yes. Then click on Add. Then click on the Add button, and a new drop-down menu appears. Add the name of your business here. The business was not carried on for a company, partnership, or trust. I did not receive any income from a labour hire firm. If you're not sure what a labour hire business is, click on this link here, and on the side here a help menu will appear giving an explanation. Once done, click Hide and the menu will go away. Now I earned income from two main sources, which was using my skills of making videos and expertise on money related topics. So I'll firstly select providing personal skills, knowledge or efforts. Secondly, I sold some digital products on my Etsy store, so I will also select sale of goods. I didn't earn money from the last two items, so I'll leave them blank. The sale of digital products was actually less than 50% of my total business income, so I will enter no here. Okay, there are a couple of options here relating to my above responses. You should carefully read each one and determine which applies to you. Since I get paid a small commission for referring people to use online products, I will select commission from a business you act on behalf of, as I do have one revenue stream from this type of activity. Otherwise, I would have selected none of the above, as my other income does not fit any of these descriptions. Now under the results test, it asks if at least 75% of my commission income was required to provide tools and equipment. For my YouTube business, I was required to buy and use a laptop, mobile phone device, microphone, and editing software. So I select yes. The next question was whether I required to fix any defects from my work. As this is not clear for my circumstances, I'll click on the link for more information here. So in my circumstance, my contract for commission does state that the commission paid to me is recoverable to the provider in limited circumstances, such as a breach of contract. Also, I do not get paid to answer any questions about the software post-sale. It's simply a referral. So I will select yes in this circumstance. Click Next. The PSI decision tool has determined that the PSI rules do not apply to me based on my responses to the questions. If you click View Details, it summarizes my responses. I have the option to formally submit this result to the ATO for future reference. This is optional and there is no obligation to do this. I personally will select this option so that if I do get audited by the ATO, I can at least remember why I came to the conclusion that the PSI rules did not apply to me. If you are in any doubt with answering these questions, then I recommend that you speak to a tax agent for advice specific to your circumstances. I also recommend that you save a copy of this response now in your personal files, as you will need to answer these questions in the next section in the tax return, again, as they do not transfer automatically to the tax return. Click Save, then click Save to MyTax. Now we get taken back to the PSI question and I will select only business income or loss, as the PSI rules do not apply to me. Now at the bottom of this screen, click Next to start filling out the tax return. If your business earned income in this year, click on the Add Edit button here. The first question asks me again if I earned PSI, and I will select yes. As I satisfied the results test of the PSI rules, I will select yes, and I will be asked no further PSI questions. However, if you did not pass the results test, then select no to this question, and there you will be asked if you received a personal service business determination from the ATO for the whole period. If you had not received one, then also select no. You will then be asked to answer 3 questions from the PSI test, including the 80% test, unrelated clients test, and employment test. If you did not pass the PSI rules, then the schedule will require you to answer further questions and may also restrict what tax deductions, tax losses, or tax offsets you can claim in the tax return form. If you still manage to claim something incorrectly, the ATO could also ask further questions after you lodge your tax return and before they issue any tax refunds. Since I did pass the results test, I don't need to answer any of those questions, and I will proceed on this basis. The next question is the main business or professional activity that you earned income from. This is where you select an industry that best reflects the main type of industry you traded in. There is currently no activity for YouTuber, so I will type in internet, and I'll pick this first option here that includes publishing and broadcasting, as that is pretty close. If you were an Uber driver, for example, or something similar, you could type in driver, and then you could select the taxi and ride sharing option here. Pick something close that matches what you do. Since I only had one business, I will answer 1 to the next question of the number of business activities. This business was new to me this year, so I'll answer number 2 here. If you have operated a business for the previous year, enter number 3, and 1 if you stopped operations in the current year. I will enter my business name, ABN, and business address, which should be the same as what you lodged with the Australian Business Register website when you applied for your ABN, unless these details have changed. If you did answer yes to the PIS test and your income payer issued you with a personal service attributed income statement, then select Add in this section here. In this schedule, fill in the details from your statement unless it has been pre-filled for you by the ATO, which is generally due in the middle of July each year. Do not fill this section for any income you received as an employee, as that information is entered into another section of the individual tax return. Remember, this section is for business income that is recognized as a PSI only. If you did not receive a personal service attributed income statement, which is many businesses that operate, leave this section blank and skip to the next one. Okay, so for all other income, you will enter it in the business income or losses section below. There are 2 main categories here called net primary production and net non-primary production. Firstly, primary production refers to work in agricultural industries which are typically associated with farming or fishing. So if you work in a regional area in agriculture, then primary production is where you include your income. All other types of income are net non-primary production business income, and you would almost certainly enter your business income here if you worked in the city far away from farms. The last item is other business income and professional income, and that is for income that is not from the normal business operations, such as the simplified depreciation rules. Secondly, the word net is added to both names of this section, as you will also record expenses incurred in the operation of your business. So net income is your gross income received from your sources of income, less the expenses you incurred. So my YouTuber business is definitely a non-primary production business. So I will enter in this net non-primary production section only. At the top of this page, I did not receive any government industry payments, so I will leave blank. I will enter the total of my income from all business sources in the other business income manually calculated section. This includes income from all sources, including advertising, commissions, and sale of products. I keep records of my business income and expenses from my bank statements that I have summarized in Excel, so I just need to enter the totals straight into these fields from my work papers. Okay, these are not my true numbers as I'm just demonstrating the tax return, but remember that YouTube does not pay very much, and I don't get that much watch time for this type of content. It is kind of boring. So I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button for this video and consider subscribing for more content. It really helps support my channel and I do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now it's time to enter business expenses. To determine the cost of sales, you need to know what the value of opening stock, the purchase of more stock made during the year, and the closing value of stock at the end of tax year. This is mainly for the sale of finished goods and products. When you enter these stock numbers here, you will get a cost of sales number calculated, which is the amount you can claim as a tax deduction. You can't claim a tax deduction for any stock that you bought but did not sell by the end of the tax year. There are special rules for small business owners that sell physical goods, and a tax agent is best to help you fill this section correctly. Although I did sell goods online, I will leave the cost of goods section blank. The reason is I only sold digital products that had no cost of production at all to produce, except my time and the use of some computer software. The following sections are common items that businesses normally incur to operate a business, and the ATO like to have these items in particular filled out to compare businesses. You will need to work through one by one and add the cost that you have incurred for the business usage only here. You will need to ensure you subtract any portion that relates to private usage, which is not tax deductible. Ensure that you don't include anything that is of capital of nature or that you claim elsewhere. For the depreciation expense box, there are several rules, tax incentives, and tax offsets to claim for small businesses in Australia. I created another video on how to complete this section in detail and keep track of your depreciation claims, which I will add a link to in the description of the video below to watch later. As a YouTuber, I typically claim the cost of depreciation for laptops and other electronic devices in this section, and I apply for any tax incentives accordingly if they apply, which usually have special boxes to include those numbers for too. If you incurred any expenses that did not meet the categories above, then you can add the total at the end here in the box called All Other Expenses, manually calculated. YouTubers incur costs for software licenses, transaction fees, website advertising costs, website registration charges, and so on. All these costs are summarized and entered in this other box here because they do not fit into any fields above. You will need to ensure that you have met all other criteria for claiming a business tax deduction here, while ensuring you are not duplicating the claim from a section outside of the sole trader business section, such as work-related employment tax deductions for home office costs. The business rules can be quite complex, and if you incur very unusual and large costs, especially those that put your business in a net loss position, you could be audited by the ATO. Special attention needs to be paid here. At the end of the non-primary production schedule, you'll see the calculation of total non-primary or production or loss. If this amount is correct, you will need to enter this amount in one of the three remaining classifications of net non-primary productions. Since my business does not relate to investing or rental properties, I will enter all of it in the last box. I will also enter 0 in the first two boxes as they are mandatory fields. If you had income in all three categories, then you are required to apportion accordingly and ensure the sum of the three boxes agree to the top amount here. Click Save. In the other sections lower down, you will also be asked to answer certain questions related to trade debtors and creditors, salary and wages, and so forth. If you have none of these, then enter 0. My business is too small to have these items, so there's nothing I need to enter. If you did not complete a mandatory section above, or there is an error in one of the sections that you needed to fill, the box will be highlighted with red, indicating you're required to correct something. Make sure you read the box correctly for the error and use the help button on the side for more information if you're unsure what is required. Click the save button again and any error messages should disappear if you have answered them correctly. At the final section, you can claim a tax loss. To claim a tax loss, click Add. Then enter the name of the business activity that generated the business loss. Select if it is a partnership or a sole trader. Now select the loss from the drop-down menu here. Now there are many rules that limit the availability of claiming business losses, especially if you have a PSI business. You will need to answer what basis you are claiming the loss in the current year. For a full explanation of the reasons for claiming a tax loss from a business, you can select the help menu on the side here and select losses details. Each loss test is outlined here. As the business loss rules are complex, I recommend seeking a registered tax agent for advice. Once completed, click Save. The net primary production section is now finished. Then click Save and Continue. You will now be taken to the main section of the individual tax return for the year to complete the rest of your tax return. You will need to complete the rest of the sections that you selected on the beginning page that you selected as applying to you. This may include things like Medicare, interest, dividends, capital gains tax, employment income, work-related tax deductions, and all the other sections that individuals are normally required to complete on their individual tax return. I have created other videos on how to complete those sections of the individual tax return, and I have included links in the description of the video below for you to watch later. See you in the next video.